Live from Pahrump, Nevada, the Valley of the Dirt People, it's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday with your hosts, Jimmy Lewis and Logan Tyler.
It's Tech Talk Taco Tuesday, your favorite show, I think. I don't know. If you're watching it, that's your fault. My name is Jimmy Lewis. I'm here with, back from the dead. Logan Tyler, who is exhausted and nauseous. Nauseous?
I don't know.
You don't know, but you don't feel good.
Yeah,
Right now, currently. So you're suffering this out. Mm-hmm. You're just going to tough it out and kick it in the ass. We don't know what he has, but we've been under the impression by medical professionals that you have long haulers COVID syndrome.
I have COVID antibodies, so I had COVID.
You had COVID. Mm-hmm. You have the antibodies, so that means you're immune to it now.
Yeah,
sort of. But they've disgraced over the road long haul truckers by associating that name with COVID.
Okay.
So you should feel like you're really sticking it to the truck drivers out there by using that name.
What's this
wanted you to know. It's about why Logan hasn't been here and leaving me hanging. I have to get co-hosts like George, who's like really that guy. Yeah. Yeah, he steals my voice-o-matron.
George loves this, but he can't have it.
And he, like, the show was so bad last time I had to spill holy water on the table and light fires, incense and stuff, candles and things.
Okay.
It was getting pretty cryptic here. But that's what happens when you stop drinking, I guess, huh, Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so welcome to the show. This is the show where we talk about what?
Dirt bikes and dirt bike related products.
Correct, and it's brought to you by?
You
don't know? You don't remember anymore?
It's the Tours place.
The Tours place.
Yeah.
Man, a couple
Costa
weeks.
Rica Unlimited.
Costa Rica Unlimited, yes. That's one of our new sponsors. That's not the main sponsor. No. Yamaha is the main sponsor currently. Taco Moto Co. That's tacomoto.co. Scott Sports, makers of awesome goggles, as you well know. Climb. Awesome gear. They have new backpacks, by the way. If you need a backpack, get it now because they'll be sold out really quick. It's the backpacks that I wear. I use the smaller, the 15, and they make a 30, which is a big boy for longer adventures. DDC Sprockets, our first sponsor. I actually need to call Nate because I got a little something today, which brought my list of bikes up to 3 that don't have DDC sprockets on the rear wheels. And this one is even more problematic because it had a 51 tooth. And I don't go 51. I just don't do
the
51s.
It had another big issue too, didn't it?
Oh, we'll get into that. And then Trail Tech. And I just mounted 2 Voyager Pros on my KTM 500s that I'm taking up to ride in secret locations for the next few days. So I'm going to go off the grid and disappear. So I'm excited. I'm just going to leave right after the show, right after I do all the stuff I was supposed to do during the day that I didn't get done. So why don't you talk about some Yamaha 4-strokes right here? See if you can do this. Announcer voice. I don't care if you got COVID. Are you spinning like dizzy?
No.
No.
Stomach.
General stomach. Yeah. You need to eat. You're growing. You need to put on some pounds. So, okay. Tell us about Yamahas.
For motocross riders driven to dominate, the Yamaha YZ line of 4-stroke bikes are built for victory. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com today to explore what's new and improved for 2022. The YZ450F and the YZ250F bring the performance with powerful 4-stroke engines, reduced unsprung weight, and new suspension settings. For the look of a full factory ride, both the YZ450F and YZ250F come in exclusive Monster Energy Yamaha Racing Edition graphic packages. And you can take precision tunability to the next level with the Yamaha exclusive and industry-only free power tuner app. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com today. Find your Yamaha YZ and enter Victory Zone.
Not bad. I was distracted while I was doing it. Did you do a good job? I'm trying to put up a post in the EXCFE Performance and Tech Talk group on the Facebooks. So, because this is what I'm going to do on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a few questions, and I'll answer those ones. But I'm going to give these guys. So I glance at this form all the time, and there's generally some pretty good questions. There's some, you really should have known. But then again, I don't think you really should have known, because how would you know if nobody would tell you? But you're asking this question. And most of the times on those questions specifically, the guy that doesn't know gets bombarded with 16 answers of varying degrees of correctness. And so, and even on some of the technical questions, you get 22 different versions of this is the way.
Right.
And I sometimes I want to answer, but then I go, geez, 25 responses? This guy must have the answer by now. I don't need to bother. But then I went through and looked at one of them not too long ago, and I just go, holy crap. Like, there's 10 really bad answers in here. Like 10 things you should not do. And if this guy doesn't know, how would he know? And not that my answer is the gospel. Logan, do you know how to make like those sounds when like the rays come out of the clouds and it sounds like God's doing that?
Ask the producer.
The angels singing?
Yeah, the angels singing. Yeah.
Yeah.
You should start doing that when I start going on one of these rants. Or you could just say, shut up, Jimmy. But anyways.
What was it we came up with the last class? The cover the ears? Or
didn't work, did it?
No, we tried it, and you were all off riding.
So distracted. Yeah, I get in a mind of my own.
You are too busy riding.
So anyways, I'm gonna put up a post in that group right now, and I'm gonna and if you, so here's what I'm gonna do. If you're listening, and Jim, I'm gonna get to your question too. If you're listening and watching live right now, if you come into the chat room, and we'll see all of them, and you start your question with "excuse me," just put "excuse me" and then ask your question, just like you did. You can cut and paste it from your other posts. You ask your question. I'll get right to it. We'll cut right to it, as long as I'm not busy answering another question.
Right.
We'll cut right to your question, and I'm just going to give you the answer.
I'm going to write this down for next week too.
And then you can see if my answer is it. I'm hoping that like 3 of the answers would be the same as mine. That good. And then you can at least you can say, I have nothing to gain from it except for my ego sitting here making the show better. And to deliver some good information to other people that might have the same question, because then you have your 250 lurkers that looked at that post that don't know which is the right answer either. And everybody's afraid to say anything, by the way. I'm not afraid to say anything. So I will. So, Logan, we're gonna get rid of this Yamaha 2-stroke reed real quick. You hit the YZ125 reed, and I'm gonna keep typing here, and then we can almost have a commercial-free show. Except I got some more commercials.
I want to say we have the ad break.
Yeah.
Experience pure performance and exhilarating power with the full line of Yamaha YZ 2-stroke bikes. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com today to explore what's new for 2022. The re-revised YZ125 makes for the perfect step-up machine, featuring all-new engine, revised 6-speed transmission, new brakes and suspension settings, improved rider ergonomics with new aggressive styling, and more. The YZ250 also delivers improved rider ergonomics, new front and rear brakes, updated suspension settings, and aggressive styling. For a truly race-inspired look, check out the YZ250 and YZ125 Monster Energy Yamaha Racing Editions. And for the next generation of riders, the YZ65, YZ85, and YZ85LW deliver big bike specs and a smaller package. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com, find your Yamaha YZ, and enter Victory Zone today.
I got it done. I posted it. Hey, we have YZ85 impressions from kids on our website right now. And
on YouTube as well, yeah?
YouTube, yeah. Website. It's all over the place. So, dirtbiketest.com. Hey, if you also want to support the show, so if you're one of those guys that like, we just babble and you just got the first 10 minutes of the show is horrible, and you figure out how far to skip, I'm gonna stop saying everything I say. I'm gonna put it in the next. I'm gonna go for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna put it later so they have to listen to it because they have to know how to support us.
Right.
Hey, if you're listening to this as a podcast, poke yourself in the eye, and then remember when you wonder why it hurts to subscribe to us wherever you can find us. That's a good bit of information, right, Logan? Okay. Costa Rica Unlimited, great off-road riding and amazing country on new gas, and KTM 2 and 4 strokes with U.S. guides who've been hosting tour groups for over a decade. Go to CostaRicaUnlimited.com. Search them on the internet. There's some pretty cool videos of other people that have been down there and done it. So Jim Jarbus says, we know you love the Parker DT out there. How about Kenda front for the East Coast? Rocks, roots, not much mud. So the Parker is not that good when it gets muddy, but it's not bad. In fact, it's what I really like about it is the brakes, the way it works on the brakes. It's still pretty good, but I would go to the newer Washougal is what I would run. So there's the Washougal, and then there is the Millville. I think the Millville's the intermediate. Am I right, Logan? Do you know?
I've seen both of those.
So the Millville, it's kind of funny because they both work. They're both kind of work the same, even though one's supposed to be a little bit softer than the other as far as terrain goes. But every rider tends to find a little bit different performance in the way that the sidewalls grab on the ruts and stuff like that. So I think they're kind of the same tire overall, but they have different characters in ruts and turns. So that's the answer to that. Hey, we got an excuse me question. Look at that.
Yeah.
Popped right up. Trey Thompson, excuse me, not my question, but it was posted. Tons of conflicting answers, and I'm curious too. What's the consensus on pulling the reeds and other emission stuff? Performance gains or no? Eliminating a potential fail point or no? So Trey, you've come to the. It depends on what you want to hear. This is a really subjective answer. My personal bikes that have reeds in them, including my 500, still have reeds in them. Okay, and I'm riding in the desert. And sometimes I ride my bikes really fast. So that's the answer. The one thing I always absolutely do is at the end of your stock muffler, there's a little perforated screen. I tend to bust that out. It's not the spark arrestor. It's just the screen on the very, very end of the muffler. If I'm running a stock muffler, which I don't always do, I pop that out. Then I don't do anything else. That's it for my quote desmogging or emissions or whatever. But specifically to get back to the reeds. So on the 250 and the 350, they don't really limit the power until you're way up in the RPM. And when I watch 95% of the people I ride, they never ride it in an RPM range where their power would be limited. On the 500, it doesn't take that much. You get up into 7,000, 8,000 RPM, 6, 7, 8, and you're probably seeing some sort of a restriction or reduction in power. But in the RPM ranges where most people ride, when I ride the bikes there, and I ride the bikes in those RPM ranges too, believe it or not, I feel a significant increase in torque. And I feel like I get better torque per wrist movement is the way I would like to describe it. And the rideability is really good. When you take the reeds out, when you just remove them and you don't do much else, it seems like they lose a little bit of throttle response. Like it's almost like your pilot jet is went off. I actually wouldn't even call it pilot jet. It's almost like your needle is a clip off. Sort of in the lean side, and then rich, even though it's a fuel injected bike. So right when you crack it, it seems like it gets lean, and then it acts rich, which I don't mind the part where it acts rich. I mind the part where it acts lean. So I have seen the reeds come dislodged inside of the intake track, and usually it was, and from most times it was usually after somebody did something like remove the shock or jostled something around. But I've seen the reeds come loose and just kind of be kind of stuck in there, maybe further restricting the flow. But this actually happened on my 350 after I was doing some shock testing, and when I did the air filter, I go, well, the reed's knocked loose, but my reed had been pulled out for some other testing, and it wasn't. I don't know if it was reinstalled properly or glued or however it was, and that was on one of my bikes. But my reeds are still in there. If you can take away what you're hearing and rely on what you're feeling, and you do some back to back, and it's really easy to pop those things in and out. You can find for yourself, but if you do pull them, you will get more peak power. There's no doubt about it on pretty much every one of those bikes, but they don't seem to carburate and run as good. If you start going to completely different ECUs, those are probably tuned and designed to run without the reeds, and unless I've tested that ECU with that reed setup and stuff, I can't really speak to it. But I still, in all of the different ones that I've tried, all the different Vortexes and all the different Gets, and I have not tried some of the other ones. I've tried some reflashed ECUs. Typically, none of them have the same drivability. I don't want to say throttle response because that gets confusing, but they don't have the same drivability as the standard ones. And I have a Vortex on one of my 500s because one of my ECUs went bad, and so I had to switch it. And I've been playing with that thing, trying to, with the clicks and trying all the different maps, and trying to get it to work as good down low as the stock one. I promise you, from mid-range on up, upper mid on up, it kills the stock ECU, but I don't really ride it up there that much, just so excuse you. Excuse me for not going with the norm. But so on most of my bikes, I put a slip-on muffler on them, a quiet slip-on muffler, just mostly for less heat. And then my go-to is to run a piggyback ECU tuner on the older bikes. On the newer bikes, they don't work because the bike tries to make adjustments back to it. And I haven't played around with my new bikes. I'm kind of happy with the way they're running, the way they are. So I have a 19 and a 20 that they have FMF cues on them, and that's it. So hope that answers it. D. Anderson says, you want to read it, Logan? That's kind of what your job is. I know you're, in recovery, but I was thinking maybe you'd come back stronger, like more talkative or something.
Yeah.
I think he's still on the mend, though.
Yeah.
Well, you just pretend like you're fixed. It's all in your head, by the way. That's what they used to tell me.
At the riding schools or
everywhere?
The doctors?
At doctors, riding schools. Yeah, they say anything that was wrong with me was all in my head until my toe was falling off, and they go, no, we have to go to the doctor. And they put my toe back on, and I'm good. So it's all in my head. Okay, next question, D. Anderson.
What would be the best way to experience Baja for the first time on a bike and get the most out of the trip? Pay big money for guided multi-day trips or wing it with your buddies?
I have a really strong opinion on this, too. If it's your first time, I would pay the money and go on a tour, to be honest with you. Knowing when I listen to the stories, because I have lots of friends who have done it all different ways, and sometimes they go with their buddy who knows Baja and knows everything about Baja. Well, he's also not a professional tour guide. And how much does he really know? I'm not sure. If he knew a lot, he'd probably be getting paid for taking people down there. But I would go on a tour if you really wanted to go down there. These people know the places to go. They know where it's safe, and that's a little bit of an issue as well. They kind of know how to just stay away from trouble, and it's just like anything. If you don't know the rules. But I would do that, and my favorite tour group down there is Baja Bound, which is my buddy Tim Morton, who runs
Baja Bound Moto.
Baja Bound. What did I say?
No, it's Baja Bound Moto.
Baja Bound Moto.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said Baja Bound, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
Baja Bound Moto. Well, there's Baja Bound Insurance.
No, I'm just saying Tim's company's Baja Bound Moto.
Okay. So anyways, Baja Bound Moto tours, and but he's been doing it forever, and good guy, and they're really good at figuring out where you're at with your riding ability and putting you in the right group and stuff like that. So, and I don't really think in the grand scheme of things it's big money. I've looked at the prices, and I know how they can do it because they're doing it in Mexico, because you can't do guided stuff up here for anywhere near close to that day rate, for instance. So that's what I would do. Or you could pay Logan to take you.
I don't know anything about Baja.
Just pretend like you do, and just take his money. Yeah. Okay. Next question.
Facebook user with a power commander from Takamoto and Fastway, and should I take my reeds out 350 EXCFW?
I don't know. I would, like I said, they're pretty easy to get in and out. So I would put it all together and leave it in, and then ride it and do something where don't just go down the street and whack the throttle wide open. Find a nice, loose, rocky hill. Find the stuff that you ride on and ride a little bit of it and come back and pop that reed out and then ride it again and see how it works. I don't know exactly how the Power Commander works, where it's getting its information from, how its maps are set. I know I have a Power Commander on my KTM 1090, and I haven't played with it enough to really fully understand it. And in fact, that was one of my projects on my list. I was actually going to go in there and take it off, because somebody sent me a different ECU that they wanted me to test. So, yeah. But when you take your reeds out, you're going to look in there and you're going to go, oh my God, there's no way. I mean, if I take this out, it's going to be so much better. Well, if you find that you think it's so much better, then I would actually try to go to the whole different intake boot that would be even another level of better, and then you might have to do some tuning. So, yeah, try it both ways, and it really depends on how it was set up. Generally, if I think that Takamoto, I think he has some sort of a sheet that tells you kind of how things are set up. If you do this and this, then you should do this and those kind of things. Or you can definitely call them and ask them. They should know this kind of stuff. And they will probably tell you to take the reeds out, because they want you to have more power. And I want you to have a more rideable bike, and that's why I leave my reeds in. So, okay, on to our sheet. You got our sheet, or are you going to have to read off of this?
Do you want to do the first one?
Okay.
Oh yeah, that first one is a long one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but you said specifically to include it in TTTT.
Right. I know. I want to, because I can answer 9 out of 10 questions thrown at me without referring to a reference manual.
Well, this one is like 10 questions.
Hey, so if you want to know how to support us, this is since you skipped and you just wanted to get to the meat of the show. This is some of that junky stuff. So start pushing that +10 or +30 right now. Amazon, we have links on the bottom of our Fresh Dirt stories, and if you shop through Amazon through one of our links, we get a little cut. So next time you're buying truck tires or stereo equipment or iPhones or all that stuff, I bought a impact hammer, like a thing, a chisel, My friend told me, Dave Donatoni, Tough Guy Tile. He said every man should own one of these. So I looked at the Makita one, and it was like $700. I'm like, man. And so I said, I'm just gonna go check. I'm just gonna do an Amazon search. And so I found it said USA Power Tools, of course, which is made in China. And I bought the basically for $200. I got the tool and a bunch of bits, and I went out and tested it. I cracked some rocks in half. Thing works. I'm pretty happy. So I made we all of us, we got a little kickback from that. So when you're buying your big power tools on Amazon, think about us. And also, we have links to Rocky Mountain ATV MC, where if you need anything for your motorcycle, they probably have it. They have super fast shipping. Stuff gets there. Click through on our links. Same thing on the website. There's a banner. and there's little banners on the tests and stuff like that where you can click through there, and then we get a little cut of that. Helps keep us in business, if you like to call this a business. What do you think of the studio upgrades? Did you notice that?
The little.
Yeah, I'm gonna hide the chat really quick from everyone so they can see the new picture.
Oh, it's covered by the chat.
Yeah, so I just took the chat down, so it looks pretty cool up there.
Yeah, so that's the painting. My buddy Ryan Hanna made that a couple of years ago. It's pretty awesome. It's all the Americans that have been on the podium in Dakar.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And super cool. He's had that for a while. And he bartered with me a little bit. He used to teach at the school, and he's going van life, trailer life. Him and his girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they're coming down here for the next school. So he kind of I think he's coming to the next school or one of the schools, and he bartered himself into the class with that particular thing. So not only is he working, he's getting a class for his girlfriend. Which, if you're interested in training, hey, we have one open spot this weekend. So if you're in the near the Pahrump world and you want a 2-day class, you want to be a better rider in 2 short days, check us out, www.jimmylewisoffroad.com. That's how I support my life. Okay, so Lad asks, hey Jimmy, I heard about your podcast this week during those plastic blocks that wedge between the front tire and fender to minimize spring stress over a long period of time. Here's my 2 cents worth after spending more than 4 years dealing with huge spring that supports over 800-pound robot gantry, which is basically the part of the robot that moves up and down. So Lad listened to the show last time, and I'm pretty sure he's going to tell me I'm an idiot because he is an expert at this. And I have no problem taking this if this is, in fact, what he's going to tell me. But I saw this and I didn't read through it. I just forwarded it to you because I wanted to just go ahead and read this.
Well, I didn't read through the whole thing either.
So anyways, here's my 2 cents worth. Even a correctly designed and processed spring loses force over time. The force loss is about 3 to 5% over the life of a correctly designed spring. This is like engineering stuff too. So he sounds like he definitely knows, and he took the time to do this. The loss of spring force is logarithmic, almost asymptom. Here, you get to say this word, Logan. Say it. It's
Asymptic?
Asymptic? No, it's not asymptomatic. It sounds like a asymptom tick. Maybe he misspelled it. Maybe he's as good at spelling as I am. What this means is the spring force decays.
Asymptotic?
Nope. The spring force decays pretty quickly at first. Then over a period of time, it will somewhat stabilize, but not totally. The spring force losses get less as time goes on. This is why old cars still need to have their springs changed later in life. So it's kind of funny because when we were talking about all the spring stuff the last time, I remember when we got done, I'm like, I didn't talk about how important it is to break your springs in. When your bike's brand new, you and that's what he's kind of talking about here, is that springs do break in the beginning, that they lose force quickly. So force decay means the spring force becomes less when compared to a given height. This force decay is caused by the free length of the spring becoming shorter over time while under stress. Spring force is defined by Hooke's law. Yeah, there's a misspelling there. Which says spring force equals the spring constant K. Okay, so he gets into the formulas here, which we don't need to go into.
No, I actually know this. I like spring. I had to do a lot of work with Hooke's law actually in college.
Matt wants to hear formulas.
I do want to hear this actually. No, keep this going.
No, nobody else wants to hear this.
But it's cool. It's interesting.
Look at Logan already picked up his phone and started typing away. He's looking at pictures of girls on TikTok. Right?
No, I'm.
Hey, when are you going to bring some stuff for our wall? I put new stuff up there. When are you going to bring something in? You got some stuff?
I got like 90 piston heads that are blown up.
No, I don't want. Maybe one. Yeah, you put one. What about like like panties and bras that you can't put those on display at your house, right?
No.
From all your girlfriends? Yeah. Okay. We'll go back to the springs. So anyways, he said he witnessed this during his testing of free length of a spring, compressed it with a force gauge, recorded the force dropping over time while the spring was compressed, then measured the spring free length after the test, and yep, it shrank. But when I took the same spring and measured it again after it sat on a shelf in a free state for days or months, it worked its way back to the original length and unratcheted itself. So we were basically, the question came, we were talking about does tying a motorcycle down for a long period of time hurt your springs? And so this is kind of indicating that in his experience, that once you unratchet it, it will actually bring itself back to
Over time.
over time, it'll bring itself back. So he said, with that said, I assume suspension vendors know a lot more about manufacturing springs than I do, so their springs are correctly designed. The act of tying a motorcycle down by the handlebars will do negligible harm to the spring, since most of the spring force decay happened early in the spring's life. Hey, wait, that's kind of what I said in the show.
Was it?
Yes.
Huh.
I didn't talk about the early in life, I mean the break-in, but I did say I've never noticed it change anything.
Right.
So if you're interested, here are some things to consider for a properly designed and manufactured spring. And this is some interesting stuff. When a spring is coiled, it's super important to stress relieve the spring after the coiling process. The coiling process causes undesired stresses in the spring materials, causing a spring to be unstable. These stresses are points of potential energy that could cause the spring to lose shape. Typically, if the spring is coiled, then thrown down into an oven to normalize stress or relieve the bad residual stress. So, heat treated. Soon after the spring stresses leave, it is important to add good residual stress. This is done by setting the spring. Setting the spring means compressing the spring to a solid height relatively quickly. This causes the desirable residual stresses similar to how a pre-stressed concrete bridge works. These desirable residual stresses cause the spring to be stressed like its free length, but subtract from the overall stress of the spring like in a compressed state. So, like pre-stressed concrete with wire rods in place. Anyways, there's more of that. You got all that figured out?
I'm
Taking
just
notes?
watching Victor's comments. He must have been
Oh,
allowed back on Facebook.
yeah. Victor, I want to hear about springs too. My mattress is getting weak at the edge of the bed. After setting a spring, it is then desirable to shot peen the spring. This involves shooting the surface of the spring with hard material that puts slight dents in the surface of the spring. This helps greatly reduce the fatigue life of the spring, the time it takes the spring to fail. And this denting of the spring surface prevents cracking at the surface to form, which is a fatigue failure factor. So cracks are bad. And Bob is raising his hand instead of just blurting out, which is, I appreciate this.
If the spring maker has any certifications or puts it on a vehicle of any kind,
Right.
KTM is ISO certified, so that the springs that they buy or make are made to an ISO process.
Okay,
That's
yeah,
all.
got it. Yep. We understand. Got this. They're hard for them to hear you too, by the way, when you talk.
Well,
I literally have to repeat most of the stuff you say, and then I put my spin on it. Coiled springs are actually torsion bars. Like a torsion bar, the stress is caused by the spring wire twisting as it gets compressed. The maximum torsional stress happens at the inside of the coils. I can show you some math, but not sure how helpful that would be. Matt's like drooling over there. He's like, show me math.
I actually just emailed this guy. I want to see the math for this.
Oh, good grief.
Well, it's been a while. Like I've actually kind of been missing my physics classes.
Okay.
So I wouldn't mind seeing this math.
I'd like to calculate the stresses that Victor's bed is seeing.
Well, he has hook. Well, we just told him what Hooke's law is, so he can calculate it if he wants to find the spring constant.
Okay. Here's some other questions for you there, Logan. Let's see. Check out the big brain on Matt. Yeah. Hey, Jimmy, do you have any tips or tricks that you've picked up to help with kickstarting, specifically a cold bike? Thanks. Yes, Noah, I tend to buy electric start bikes, which completely eliminates that problem whatsoever. Hope that was helpful.
And grow tall and be strong will help a little bit.
No, you can be a shrimp and you can be weak, and all you do is just push the button like everybody else. They fire right up. It's amazing. I got some, and if you want practice, I've got some bikes that have batteries in them that are kind of weak, and then you have to give them a kick assist. So it's like doing half kick starting, and then when they go completely dead, then you get to kick and push the extra weight of the electric starter over, which is kind of thing. But no, I'm just joking. No. So yes, most bikes I found 2-stroke 04 like to be started from just past top dead center. And so if you don't know what top dead center is, it's when the piston goes up in the compression stroke. And this is important on a 4-stroke. It happens every time on a 2-stroke. And it gets harder and harder to push, and all of a sudden it goes past top dead center, and it gets easy to push. You want to put it right up to that point, and then take all your weight off the Kickstarter, bring it all the way back up, and then get a nice, smooth, long kick. You don't want to try to push it super hard. You want to make it a nice, smooth kick, and then kind of figure out the arc of the Kickstarter as well, and figure out how you're going to best position yourself so that you can get that full kick. And a lot of times, shorter riders have a hard time, because they have a hard time getting their foot, down to the bottom of the stroke. And most bikes are engineered to make it turn over just enough times to get it to start. So, and not too many, because if it turns over too many times, the leverage ratio is wrong and it's really hard to push down. So if a bike is cold, then it depends on how cold, because if your oil is thick, well, there's not a lot you can do about this. Sometimes I have found if a bike is a little bit reluctant or hard to start, lay it over on its side. So turn the gas on, lay it over on its side, and wait till a little bit of gas spills out the overflows, then pick the bike up, and then with the choke on, then kick. And at that point, what you've done is you've sort of primed it a little bit. So that oil spilling, the gas spilling out, the stuff you spill out in the ground, some of it also spills into the nozzle, into the needle jet. Some of it spills out the pilot jet, and you get a little bit extra gas in there. If you have a bike that has a pumper carb on it, like an older 4-stroke that has a pumper carb, if you just pump the throttle 5 or 6 times, that will squirt some gas in there. And every bike's different. Some are 2, some are 5, and it just depends on the bike. That will help. Or park and always stop on top of a hill, buy a house on top of a hill, and then you can always push down. See, we're flat around here, and I have an OSA that doesn't like to start, and so that bike no longer lives here. I took it up in the mountains where I have a cabin that it's downhill, and now the bike starts every time because it'll bump start. So I take my own advice sometimes. Right, Logan?
Mm-hmm.
Do you take my advice?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
Not if it's with computers.
I don't give computer advice
True.
very much.
True. I'm still working on getting you to get Control Z down.
Victor, the way you add the purchase on Amazon. So basically, the best thing to do is go to dirtbiketest.com, click on one of the fresh dirt stories, and then scroll down to the bottom of the story, and there'll be all these pictures of things. And usually it's whatever we put in as the search item. And it'll, like on the picture of the YZ85, I think, no, the YZ250FX story, which is actually pretty good. Trevor had me confused the whole time. He was saying, do we like this bike? Do we like this bike? And he kind of pointed out this, and he said, yeah, we like this bike. Even though in the whole story, he kind of had me thinking he didn't like the bike, so now I want to ride it. But anyways, you go to the bottom of that story. There's pictures of car tires, and then you type in what you're going to want. Like, so I know you're getting some 13-inch rims for your lowrider. Mm-hmm. He's a Mexican dude. Likes the low lows. Yeah. So he's probably getting some 13-inch rims, wire spoked with 176 spokes, and maybe a set of hydraulics. So, okay. Emily Musolano has a question for me.
in the latest dirt bike issue, Ron
Lawson, he's been on the show before,
touched on the history of the Husaberg, saying the first generation was the best, but he did not reference the year. What era was he talking about, and what were the differences? I'm just giving you an excuse to talk about the Berg. Ding, cheers.
Yeah, Husaberg. So he is. It's funny because I was going through some old photos and I have a picture of me riding the first generation Husaberg. So it was 1990 when they actually released them in 90 or 91. I saw one in 89. I saw the very first one at the ISD in 1989, and it was basically a hand built, prototype. And then. So he's talking about a 90, 91, and those things, it's funny because I started looking at it and I looked at the frame rails and I forgot how hacked together they were. I mean, they just basically took what they had left over from Husky parts and built this pretty amazing four-stroke. So I don't think that the first generation was the best. But they had some ups and downs. They had some reliability and durability issues, and they never seemed to get the. They seemed like it was kind of like KTM was for a while. They were just on or off with the suspension. If they got the chassis right, the suspension was jacked up, and vice versa. So there was a little bit of this, but they always made good power when they were running. They always made really good power. That's when the cams weren't doing something funny, or the water pump seals weren't going out, or all those kinds of things. So, okay. Now you're talking about car bikes, George says. No need to lay an FI bike over. Correct. I don't know of any fuel-injected. There's very few fuel-injected kickstart bikes, but there are some, like Suzuki RMZs are like this. And, let's say, SS says, a new Tusk lithium-ion battery and bolts for the battery installed. Okay. Hopefully he bought that through our links.
Yeah, through the links.
I think that's what he's trying to tell us. But
I think we have more questions on the sheet.
Okay,
We can probably do a couple more before we go to break.
Okay, Logan, hit me with those things.
David Andrew. Part 1. This weekend, I was on one of my two Honda CRF 230Fs. The one did not have the BBR decal on the gas tank. Couple of questions.
Oh, so he was in the school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Was the suspension stock, particularly the front forks? What tires were on it, and what pressure were they running? Lastly, is there a street legal dual sport that you feel would be best for me, given my current ability? I don't want a high-performance bike that won't require frequent oil changes and valve adjustments, so I know that will limit the choices somewhat. I tuned into Taco Tuesday broadcast with you and George for a bit. I had to get to bed here on the East Coast, but I'm going to watch the rest on YouTube. You guys have a good, powerful energy and a banter that makes it enjoyable to watch.
You know why that is, Logan? That me and George have an energy.
No?
You're confused. It's because he talks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He adds to the conversation when we. It's not like just the Jimmy show.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of becomes like the Jimmy and George show, except
George is the devil.
he tries to steal my thunder with some of my gags though. So if I gave you the voice of Matron, would you talk? Would you feel like you could hide behind that voice and?
No.
We're working on it. We're trying everything.
Part 2. Okay, so if were to get a KTM, which model for me? And between the Kawasaki...
Can I answer the first part? Or should I answer the first part?
This, the 1 and 2.
So the bike was 100%
He's in the chat, by the way.
completely stock. Well, we got to get to it before his bedtime.
Yep.
It's important. The bike was 100% completely stock. Except for it had different rims on it, the one that he rode, and I think that's it on the one that you guys use for the beginner classes. That's just stock.
I'm pretty sure it's just
I
bone
don't
stock with the
think-
exception of rims.
So rims, and then it has Parker DTs for tires. They were run at 12 psi. That's where you set them at, 12 or 13, right?
No, I had them set at 14.
14.
Yeah.
Why are you guys going up to 14? So it should be 12, but
Okay.
you can do 13. Just,
Yeah.
Anyways. Flat prevention, is that what you're thinking?
I guess I just remembered it wrong. I remember it being like 14 to 15.
12. 12 is the set. So that was that bike. No modifications whatsoever. The other one, the Crazy Nate's bike, that has it has an Amazon pipe on it, which actually is holding up pretty well. I'm pretty surprised so far.
The Amazon pipe? I
Yeah.
thought that was on the BBR bike.
Yeah, it's on the BBR bike. He didn't ride. He rode the stock one. He didn't ride the BBR bike. So that has the Amazon pipe on it. It has a different shock. It has a Works Performance shock. It has one stiff BBR spring in the front fork. It has one stock and one stiff one, and has a different headlight and all kinds. It's been spray painted black on one side, and I had to go and spray paint it gray because I didn't want it to look like the Hoopty wagon. But so that's that bike. And now he is asking, or he said what would be a good bike for him, but he's going to go into this
Yes.
more.
Kawasaki KLX 300 and the Honda CRF 300L. Any better suited for me? I'm sure you hate these questions, but you have a lot more experience than I will ever have, and trust your judgment.
So when you're looking at that category or classification of bike, we'll call those play bikes, and so there's play bikes, and then we'll call them entry level dual sport bikes, and they're kind of the same. Like Kawasaki has one with a license plate, one without. Yamaha has one with a license plate, one without. Honda has one with a license plate, one without, and they're kind of based off the same. But in order to make those bikes street legal, they have to do a lot of little things that they may look kind of similar, but they really get neutered because the displacement is so small that it really hurts them. So going for the license plate usually takes a certain amount of performance out of the bike. Not a ton, but it's noticeable. And then when you look at what KTM does, is KTM takes their race bike and then they figure out a way to turn it. It's kind of a more high performance bike. You're going to pay quite a bit more in price. So KTM, Husqvarna, Gas is not making street legal right now. Beta has some smaller bikes that smaller displacements that you can. I think theirs is only 350 though. I don't think they go down any lower. But anyways, so there's a wide range of bikes there, and the difference is when you go to the competition bikes and the more racy bikes, they tend to not have as much chug. And even though they're quite a bit lighter, they're also a little bit taller, so they don't feel as stable. And when you look at bikes like the Honda CRF 300L or the Kawasaki is it KLR or KLX?
It's KLX 300.
KLX 300.
Yeah.
Which is there a KLR 300 or is there a KLX street one? I know they make a street version, but they're all kind of the same. And between the Hondas and the Kawasaki's, they're all pretty much. It's just like, what color do you like? I think the Hondas tend to be a little bit lower seat height. I tend to find the build quality on the Hondas is maybe just a little bit up. All those bikes, a lot of them are not built in Japan, by the way. They're built other places, Brazil, Taiwan, things like this. So, they're not like the race bikes. And if you can get test rides on them, see if one of those kind of feels comfortable and fits you. That's I wish when you were at the school you would ask to hop on a couple different bikes and try some of the other rental bikes, some of the other bikes that the students were on, and then you could have gotten a feel for the different things. So, anyways, and I don't pay George anything. In fact, George pays me to be on this show, and he has a little emoji lexicon there that we can't see because he's running out of funds, and we're shrinking his account as we speak. SS, how would you go about testing an ECU? I had a KTM 250 XCFW 16 that lost battery connection and died. Got a new battery and it just cranks. Boy, how would I test? And he said lost. What does lost have to do with?
It lost battery connection.
Oh, lost battery connection and died. So, man, electrical problems are always pretty difficult. Let's see, how would you go about testing an ECU? Well, when I had an ECU problem, the way I found out was I took an ECU off another bike that functioned properly and put it on. So I used lost a negative bolt. Okay, so I think he's talking about his ground coming loose. I would, you got to find out if it's getting power. And it's those, let's see, KTM, a 16 XCFW. So all those ECUs are kind of the same between all of the 4-strokes on the KTMs. And they are known to go bad every once in a while. I mean, I only have, probably 18 of those bikes or so. And I've seen 2 ECU failures in all of the 4-stroke KTMs, the fuel injected ones. So I've seen one on a 500 and one on a 250 EXC. And actually the one on the 250 EXC, it wasn't my bike. It was a friend's bike. But I swapped my ECU. It starts for a bit with idle and with the JD tuner installed, but that's it. Let's see. So now it starts. It sounds like a fuel issue to me. If it's starting and then it doesn't do something. So I don't know, and I don't know if the negative bolt. How long was it sitting once it stopped running? Did it sit for a long time? Then I would start looking at the fuel filters, make sure you have fuel pressure. So if it starts a little bit, it has spark. That's good. And then I would go straight to checking for fuel, and then make sure you have fuel, and then decide where the problem is. You might find it, because generally. Yeah, if all your fuses are good, it wouldn't start. If it starts, then usually all the fuses that make the bike run would be a thing. So Bob is raising his hand.
Just to emphasize that if it idles and then when he rolls the throttle on,
that's why I started thinking it was a fuel problem. So let's see, a 2022 350 EXC. You doing research for me over there, Logan, or are you looking at nudie pictures again?
The KLX, there's no KLR 300.
There's no KLR 300. There's just a KLX.
KLX R and then KLX.
Okay, so the R is the dirt bike, and the regular one is a street. See, good. Glad you're not over there. Jason Sarner says 2022 350 XC. Would you do anything to increase dependability? No. A Dirt Tricks chain tensioner. No. Because the stock one is actually really good. But those have been known to fail. Of all the things on the 350, that's one of the things. Actually, I just took, believe it or not, on this mystery bike that I got, I just took out a Dirt Tricks one and installed a DHJ manual one on it, because it's making a little bit of noise up in the top end, and I wanted to be able to eliminate the cam chain as the source of that noise. And what was his other thing that he put on?
Anti-gravity battery.
Man, I think the stock batteries, it's just like any battery you put in anymore, 9 out of 10 of them, you're going to get 3 to 5 years on them, and then there's that one in that group of 10 that you're going to get a year out of, maybe less. So I don't think there's going to be any problem with the battery, and it kind of depends on how you treat it. If it's a lithium battery, which I think the KTMs have now, and you put a parasitic drain on it, and you don't start it every once in a while, that won't be good. So that's the go-to there. Harlan Miller, would you do the Tour of Idaho on a 500 again, or something smaller like a 2-stroke 300? I absolutely would not do the Tour of Idaho on a 2-stroke. Not a chance. I might do it on a 350. I was actually riding Heather's 350 quite a bit lately, and I was having a lot of fun on it, even on kind of faster stuff. And I was kind of surprised myself with some of the hills, big hill hills that I was able to climb, and I was kind of going, oh. So I don't know. I tend to like the 500 just because it chugs so well, and you just don't have to rev it. And so I probably would. It's just a 500. Just easier. But I would consider a 350. So that's the answer. Is there another question over there on the?
A couple.
Okay, what are we hitting?
Steve Durex.
Giro X. Yeah, it's a name from Zimbabwe.
My Husaberg FE
Ooh.
550 E has a fancy new type of battery on it. I believe it's LiFePO. Maybe I'm told they require a non-standard special charger. Fair enough. My question is, does this bike's charging system need to be altered also? If not, does it somehow charge differently, or is it a special charger story a BS money grab?
No, so LiPo is lithium ion, and there's a couple different kinds of lithium combinations and stuff that they use in batteries. I'm not a chemist. I don't understand this, but my understanding is that lithium batteries do not like what we call the pulse charging, or some battery chargers have a pulsing feature that's used to kind of what do you call it when you descale the
Sulfate.
desulfate? Yeah, the desulfate feature that pulses. I've been told that lithium batteries do not like this, and my experience is that lithium batteries charge very fast, but they also don't like to be overcharged, and overcharging usually makes them explode because they're not very good at containing their heat when they get kind of overcharged. In fact, I had an old battery the other day, and I decided it was a motorcycle battery, and I put it onto a car jumping device just to put a lot of power into it, see what happened. And it got hot enough where I took it out and put it outside in the gravel away from anything else, because I was afraid something that was going to happen. George, who probably just Googled this and is going to try to act smart, says the LiFePO4 battery, the lithium lead, has an edge over lithium ion, both in terms of cycle life. It supposedly lasts 4 to 5 times longer, and safety. This is a key advantage because the lithium-ion batteries can overheat and even catch fire, which the lithium-ion does. Should I put my boss on the phone? She would feel really bad. I won't do it. So, anyways, the lithium-ion, the LiPo4 does not have those things. So, lithium iron phosphate. So, hey, look, there's chemicals and chemical formulas, Matt. Is that exciting you?
No, I hated chemistry.
Oh, okay.
Also,
Good.
chemistry is just quantum physics.
Right. I don't know this, but so in your Husaberg, you don't have anything to worry about. Your Husaberg probably has a voltage regulator on it, as long as your voltage regulator is working properly. Wait, it's a Husaberg, so maybe the voltage regulator won't work properly, or at least that's what everybody tells me. But yeah, if your bike catches on fire, then it's no big deal. But since you have that awesome battery in there, George says it's not going to catch on fire, so George says it's okay. I wouldn't be concerned either. He said 550. Do you have a 550? Mm-hmm. That's a good motor. That's a really good motor.
Better than 570?
Oh no.
Okay.
No, but the 600 could be better than the 570, and not just because it's 600, because it just made a real shit ton of power. The problem was it was making that power from a carburetor, and the durability wasn't nearly as good as the 570. But the 550 was like that. I just remember. So the 600 was probably the first bike that I ever rode that would go up hill climbs that would bog 450s down, and you could upshift. You would be going up, and you wouldn't be at wide open. You go into a hill that everything else was just wide open, and the bikes are slowing down. And this thing, you would be like 3/4 throttle, because if you went wide open, it would just start digging a trench. It wouldn't go far. But you could back off, and then when the traction was good, you could accelerate again, and it would accelerate up a hill where 450s and stuff were just bogged down. It was It was mind-boggling. And I remember we used to just go find the worst hills and go hill climbing with that 600 all the time, and it just guzzled gas. So, okay.
Might be time for a commercial break before we take more questions.
Okay. So what's the okay? What's the what why do we take a commercial break? Because I don't need to go get a refill of tequila or anything anymore.
Okay.
So
If you want to keep going, I just wanted to keep
I'm
a
just
consistent
teasing.
flow of the show.
we'll do the
Consistent
commercial
flow.
break. All right, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Hey, watch the commercials, support our sponsors, support those that support us, and trust me, anybody you see on a sponsor of the show, it's because I like them and I use their stuff and I can fully endorse what they're doing. So watch this.
What's up, Moto Buddies? Mike here from Taco Moto Co. What is the Taco Touch? It's the best service in the industry. Virtually 24/7 tech support via email or text, and it's like having a dirt bike doctor on call every day of the year, helping you fix your bike or recommend parts or setups for you. If you've ever received an order from us, you know that the Taco Touch extends to our fulfillment, and our orders come with the coolest stickers that you've ever had, buying parts from anybody before, and a handful of root beer barrel candies. All of our Taco Moto Co. branded components come with a no questions asked lifetime warranty, and we'll even extend out the warranty of other manufacturers, OEM, and aftermarket parts where we can, sometimes for life. We test and tune endlessly and exhaustively and obsessively. We're trying to destroy everything that we can before you get your hands on it to look for weaknesses and to improve it, or to make recommendations to the manufacturer. And if it's something that doesn't meet grade, then we don't offer it on the store. Everything that we carry is something that we have personally used, tested, and ridden, and raced, and knows meets the high Taco Touch demanding standard. Go out and get some adventure.
And we're back. Logan went and sat in the massage chair. Did you actually turn it on?
No.
You just sat in it.
No. Yeah.
You're
I just sat
you're
in it.
pretending.
Baseline, that thing's actually really comfy. Like,
Yeah.
without it even being on, it's pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
Oh.
Have you used Fabio?
It's like a hug.
Yeah, like 2 times at least since it's been here for the last month.
I've used Fabio more than you.
I just don't have a lot of time. I just it's like I'm
I got to make time for Fabio
polishing. I'm
sometimes.
petting cats and stuff like that. Busy stuff.
You could put Selma in the little one, and then you hop in Fabio.
Right. So we know we like talking about blue bikes. For motocross riders driven to dominate, the Yamaha YZ line of 4-stroke bikes are built for victory. Visit YamahaMotorsports.com to find out how to get in the victory zone right now. Okay, Logan, got some more questions. Do we have something? So Emily says she's watching from Dubai. She called. Does she want to get on the show? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she's kind of confused because the time difference.
So this went off of this chat. This question got buried in Restream update, so I can't scroll down anymore on this.
Okay,
this
so
chat.
you're going to read me a question?
I'm going to read you a question from Andy BJ. Is it possible for a crank seal to leak the opposite way of normal on a two-stroke? Usually on the right side, they will suck transmission oil into the cylinder, but can it pressurize the crankcase?
Can it pressurize the crankcase? So in other words, can it push oil into the... Well, if the seal's leaking, the crankcase has both a positive and negative pressure at different times.
He had to follow up. After a long hill climb, let the bike drop on its side, and it spit out about half the trans oil out of the breather in less than a second.
So he's what bike and what year and
Mm-hmm.
what are we looking at, Andy? I'll figure this out. And it was it two-stroke?
Yeah, he said two-stroke.
He said two-stroke, long hill climb. Yeah. Is it doing anything with the coolant? And you're absolutely sure you put the right amount of oil in there. That'd be the first thing, because if you put too much in there, 2007 TE 250. Boy, you know what I'm gonna go with? Power valve seals. So the seals at your power valve, that's where the pressure's coming out. Somehow it's getting out there, and it's pressurizing the crankcase through the power valve, possibly. And then he said let the bike drop on its side and spit out half of its trans oil out the breather in less than a second. Man, I can't see that, because that breather is tiny and I can't see that much coming out. So I would actually take a more accurate measurement of that, because I'm going to say maybe I could see it pumping out 100 cc's or something like that, but not 300. So yeah, interesting. But I would check to make sure that somehow the seals on the power valve aren't letting the exhaust gas kind of pressurize and go in that way more than the crank seals. Because the crank seals, generally, if the crank seal is bad, you're going to get a lot of popping at high RPMs. Like when you do like a power shift and stuff, they'll pop and it'll get lean on the top end. And if there was that much pressure going one way, I would suspect that it would also be sucking some oil in there as well. But interesting. I've never seen that happen before. So
Send us a follow-up.
yeah, yeah, let us know. I always like to know what the answers are. You got another one there, Logan?
Cole Smith. Jimmy, does the Husaberg identify as a Husqvarna, FMF decal, and acro muffler? Cannot roost even with bonus points for the Olin's fork.
Is that bike in Rooster Endo?
It's not in Rooster Endo.
It's not
it could
in-
be if
it's
you want it to be.
Not,
next
no,
week.
no. Okay, so cat's out of the bag, because Matt put a picture of me on my new bike. Today I purchased another Husaberg 570. So if you looked at the photo we put on Facebook today on Dirt Bike Test Facebook page, I'm sitting on. It's definitely a Husaberg 570, but if you look at the stickers, which Cole did very closely, it says Husqvarna on it, and it has a Husky front number plate and front fender, yellow fork guards, and the graphics on it say Husqvarna, because the guy I bought it from, Bobby from Woolly's Cycles in Atlanta, Georgia, owns a Husky dealership, and he really liked his Husaberg, and he wanted to keep riding it, but he wanted to support the brands that he sells, KTM's, BMW's, Huskies. So he converted this into he disguised it as a Husky. I was going to go on this big story and tell you how I bought it from somebody who didn't know what they had. The guy thought it was a Husky, and it was a Huskyberg. And but no, I am not responsible for anything on this bike yet, although I didn't even catch until he pointed out, he didn't catch the FMF sticker on the Acro muffler. But I did know it had the Acro muffler on it. This thing has some modifications done to it. I already started tearing things apart in the garage, and like I said, it was a little bit ticky for my taste. So I did a little work on the on that to put I had a cam chain tensioner laying around, so I threw it in there, and so yeah, that's my new Chariot. It's got a high compression piston and a Vortex ECU on it. It's got
high
all the
compression piston on a 570.
Yep. I don't know that it needs it, but it has. It's funny because I just went and did a quick little run down the street, and then I put some fresher gas in it and did another quick little run down the street, and that thing puts out some pretty good power. It does have some drivability issues, like I always complain about, but I'm the only one in the world that cares about getting my bike to run where I actually ride it, as opposed to just trying to produce some ridiculous dyno numbers. But it was lifting the front wheel up in third, fourth, and fifth gear. Well, just on roll-ons.
Your other Husabergs, they don't have the high compression piston in it, right?
No, they're stock.
Yeah, and they could do it in third gear, so I'm not surprised.
They don't do it in fifth though.
Yeah.
This bike did it in fifth, and it's kind of like this real mid-range pull, and it pulls really good into the mid-range, but in mid-range it comes on and kind of rips. So yeah, another one to play with.
I'm still stuck on a high compression piston on that thing. I don't know if I'd want to touch it.
Well, I mean, it's fine. The more power, the better, right? The wrist goes both directions. So does your throttle.
Mine's gonna be going forward a lot.
Husabusa, yeah, it's a. And Dave, your bike went back with him, so he now has possession of your bike. It's left the premises, and he drove out here to buy a KTM rally bike. A factory rally bike. He had a really, really nice one that he picked up from a guy. So it was just so happens that he had a Berg that he needed to get a little bit of money for, and I had a little bit of money. So I spent all of your paychecks, by the way, and tip money and everything else. But it's like the first step to, getting rid of the addiction is admitting you have a problem, and I don't have a problem, so you guys are screwed. Okay, next question.
TTT number 134, DLR Mon 1. People need Roost and Endo stickers for the front and rear of their bikes.
So, I thought that was a great idea. I commissioned the stickers. I commissioned it, but evidently I confused my artist, my graphic designer, and I'm going to try again. But it's okay. I do this a lot. So I don't understand the Rooster Endo stickers. You have like a Roost sticker on your front fender and an Endo on your rear fender? Is it the other way around, or is it one sticker? I was just thinking maybe there'd be a design or something. Maybe we need a T-shirt, Rooster Endo T-shirts we could all wear. We could start selling T-shirts again because, see how that went. All the large and XLs go because, George takes all the double X's and they're gone. And then I take all the XLs and they're gone. And all the larges we sell. And then we have a bunch of smalls and mediums for all your chicks. You need to have a bunch of girls standing behind us with T-shirts, just the T-shirts on. And just like a billboard to sell, because that's what girls do on the internet. They sell stuff on the TikToks and stuff, right, Logan?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next question.
KTM 390 long-term wrap-up, 666 dual sport. The complete arrogance of KTM being too stupid or cheap to have those foot pegs is unacceptable, even on a cheap bike.
Actually, the foot pegs themselves aren't that bad. Just the foot pegs. The angle of them is a problem. I have a problem with it. But why is it arrogance? They're multi-platforming the motorcycle. They understand that it was designed to be ridden by novice and beginner riders who largely sit down, and they wanted to make sure that those riders could reach the shifter and the brake pedal comfortably. So yeah, it meets that criteria. It's not arrogance, it's smart marketing. So 666 dual sport. Is he like, do you think he has like devil horns on his graphics? Shit, like that? Think so? Maybe a little bit. Anyways, he was probably mean to new beginner riders too. He's like the devil. Hold on.
It's probably the opposite of a.
I'm 666 dual sport, and if you're a beginner rider, arrogance will greet you with every bike you purchase.
Right? Is that what happens? So, okay. We out of questions over there?
I'm out.
You're out of questions?
Well, good thing the chat has a couple more questions.
Well, we didn't get any excuse me's, but like, look at this. This is Husaberg. This is Husaberg night. What does Kirk say his name? Zerbriggen. Zerbriggen. I have two of those Husabergs, 570 and 450. They have problems with cam oiling hole. Don't tell me this. That's not what I want to hear. I have 3 of them now, and I have to check the cam oiling hole on this one because my other 2 don't have a problem with it.
We don't accept Husaberg sacrilege here.
Yeah, where can I find information on this cam oiling hole that I don't know about? So, yeah, it's just a little bit louder. I'm gonna check the valves and stuff just to make sure, and it does have a different cam in it, so it has a different cam in it, and it has the higher compression piston. And I did the thing where it was running, and I put my ear up to the screwdriver and lifting it around, and nothing stood out as being a bad noise. It's just noisier than my other ones. So, and I have a good ear for this. So, yeah. So Andy BJ says, "Good job on the power valve seals. I'm thinking that much pressure buildup. It's a combustion pressure entering the trans." Thank you. Wow.
Compliment.
Somebody thanks you. That's good. It's a compliment.
Yeah. Cool. There's another question that got buried.
Okay.
That I want to bring up.
Logan, grab the Rooster Endo
So
board.
this is also. Oh, hold on. So Kirk actually had an earlier question. This is the one that got buried. Could you talk about shocks with high speed and low speed adjusters and explain the 2 adjustments? I understand low speed adjuster is jumping and high speed is whoops? Question mark.
Oh boy, let's oversimplify something. So, yes, I can explain it, and I can probably make it more complicated as well. So, essentially, the when they talk about speed, high speed and low speed, they're referring to shock shaft speeds. Okay, so when the shaft is moving at a high rate of speed, or the shaft is moving at a low rate of speed, that's when those particular adjusters will do what we'll call most of their damping. They do damping all the time. They're always working, but there's blow-offs on them, and there's just times when there's so much oil flowing that they essentially they reach their limit of what they can do. So I'm not a suspension tuner or an artist, and both of those are the same thing, but I kind of understand how it works, mostly on the feel side of things. So I would look at the low speed adjuster, and if we're talking about, and he has Husaberg, so I'm just going to kind of suspect he's talking about Husabergs or KTM type things. The low speed adjuster on most shocks that I've ridden act as low speed adjusters. In other words, it's kind of like the slower movement or the initial movement of the shock. And once it's kind of down into the stroke, they don't seem to do a whole lot anymore. So I always say it's the slower movements, or how much it moves, whenever it starts moving in one direction or the other, and then a lot of the initial. That's the low speed. The high speed is again these higher shaft speeds, and I can see where somebody could say that it would do something in the hoops, because those excuse me, would be higher shaft speed stuff. But I find it works more as when everything else is set up properly, and when it's set up properly, I use it as a functioning ride height adjustment. So what that means is, how you set your sag to adjust ride height? Well, if I want the bike to ride, while I'm riding, to ride a little higher in the rear, I add a little bit of high-speed compression. So if, let's say I wanted to have what I felt like was maybe 5 millimeters more ride height, I would add, and depending on the bike, and on my Husaberg, it would be a little bit more than an eighth of a turn to get that. Same thing's true in the other direction. If I wanted to functionally ride a little bit lower, like if I'm coming into the turns and I feel like it's a little unstable and I want the back end to squat down a little bit more, I'll take out that eighth of a turn or a little bit more. And it's an eighth to a quarter turn seems to be the range. So you basically have a half a turn at the maximum. You have a half a turn of range that you can use on a high-speed compression that will affect the ride height. And when you do that, it does make the shock overall a little bit stiffer, but you don't really feel it until you hit something kind of hard or quick, like a curb essentially, And if you're really trying to get overall stiffness out of it, it seems like you have to go kind of at least a quarter turn, more like a half turn, to actually feel some kind of stiffness. Like if you were going through the hoops and you wanted the bike to hold itself up a little bit, this works, and how much you want it to work would depend on how much with the high speed, and then the low speed is more for ground feel, if that makes sense. So hopefully, Kirk, I've answered that question. So Mitchell Rainford says,
I have a 2015 KX 250F that doesn't run without the choke on. Any tips on what to check first?
okay, you know this answer, Logan. What goes wrong? It's a carbureted bike.
Fuel injected.
Oh, it's fuel injected?
2015 KX250F.
I think they're carbureted.
I looked it up. It's fuel injected.
When did they switch?
I thought it was fuel injected, and I think he actually said right here. Yeah, he said.
Oh, it's fuel injected. Okay.
Yeah. So actually, when I looked it up, it says it has a dual injection system, like a dual fuel injected system.
Yes. Okay. So they already had that back then. Wow. Getting old. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
6 years? No.
Yeah, that's more
7,
than that.
8.
Yeah, 7, 8 years old. I didn't.
But could there be a clogged
So
injector?
only runs with the choke on. I would guess that you're gonna find you have fuel filter, plugged injector, low fuel pressure, something along these lines, or your adjustment of your idle is so far, because I think on that one I don't know, I don't remember, because I never had to ever actually play with them. If the idle adjust is kind of done through the choke on a lot of the fuel injection systems, the idle adjust is done. It's an air bleed. The choke is essentially an air bleed, and so maybe that thing is so far out of adjustment that you have to do that. So I would go in there, check the manual. The manual will tell you like how many clicks or detents or whatever it is that kind of give you a range of where it should be, and play with it. See if you can pop it back in and adjust it and get it to where it needs to be. Or there could be some, could be some obstruction. Did you get a bunch of dirt in there, and then dirt maybe plugging part of one of the orifices, stuff like this? There's a lot of stuff it could be, but I bet you're going to find out it's something pretty simple. And Kirk says his KTM 690 Rally has the high-low speed. Thanks for the explanation. So let's see. Yeah, so George also thought it was a carburetor, because that's what I was going to ask. What if it's a carburetor? Why do you have the choke on?
It needs more air.
No, I mean on a carburetor one, it's more fuel, but it's because the pilot jet's plugged, which is super common these days.
Mm-hmm.
Pilot jet's always plugged. Vacuum leak. Where
Wouldn't a
that's
vacuum leak cause it to
so
you be getting?
so yeah. I'm thinking about it. I mean, it could definitely be a vacuum leak. Somehow like the intake manifold could be cracked, or the intake manifold gasket is funky. That's a possibility too, but I don't know. We'll see how that. Anyways, let us know when you get it back, Mitchell. Give us a rundown on what you find, and if any of that stuff helped. Taco Moto Co. makes a really nice inline fuel pressure checker. So if you are in the need for some of these tools sometimes, and you want to have a cool set of tools, I have one. I use it all the time. When something starts going wrong, it's spark or fuel, and then that's the first thing I go. That's my first go-to is check the fuel pressure. So, are you positive you're using the choke correctly? This is also a good one. You never rule out the obvious. I know the KTM one operates opposite. It does operate opposite?
I'm not sure what he means by that.
Yeah.
All the KTMs that we
that you pull them out, you pop them out, you pull them out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he means.
I don't know which. So they used to have hot start buttons that you pushed in, but who knows?
So there was one quick question. It was here we go. Lucas Stanois. How often do you actually check?
You want to
the
spell that
valves?
for me? I'm really curious about the
Stanois.
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 Is that right, Logan?
No clue.
That sounds more correct than what I said. So anyway, how often do you actually check the valves on the 570s?
Close to never. Yeah, I would say that I've checked so when I had the 570, the first one I still have, I checked it probably at 20 hours, at 50 hours, at 70 hours, at 100 hours, and then I went to like 250 hours and I quit checking it. And then we took it apart at 500 hours and they were still perfect. And then on the one that I got from Bob, did you ever check your valves?
Yeah.
The Husaberg? Yeah, so he checked them once at one point. I've never checked them, and that bike probably has 900 hours on it. So that's the routine. So a friend of mine posted. He said, "Hey, I've got my 500 EXC, and it's a newer one, a 21 or 22." And he was like looking for the shop to have the top end done. And I just replied to him after he got 15 recommendations on where to get shops to go to. I said, "Don't do it. Ride it 3 times longer than you currently have, and then think about it." That's my answer. Because I know that this guy is changing his oil and cleaning his filters. Because guys that are looking to do maintenance when the manual says or close to it are generally doing all the stuff. Just ride them. It'll last forever. You'll probably do more damage by having the top end done. And that's not saying that everybody that he recommended was probably a good thing. It's just the chance of you messing up something like when my usual go-to is I stopped doing it. It's like, so like the question was like, I did this and that. What do I do? I'm like, what was the last thing you did to the bike? Undo what you just did.
Yeah.
Like unfix what you just fixed. And thing. They're talking about how to run from the cops. You know anything about this, Logan?
Nope, never had to do it.
Never had to do it because the cops don't chase you around here because you can ride your dirt bike down the street.
One.
Oh, you've never seen a cop?
Nope.
Oh, I've seen them a bunch. They just wave. Don't you push the button in on fuel injection for cold?
Well, typically you have to press the start button in. So
Yeah, that's right, George. Yeah, you push the start button in to get them to start when it's cold and when it's hot too. We have another Husaberg question. It's Husaberg question night.
Yeah.
Husaberg question. 210 FX 450 idles fine, but then dies when opening the throttle. I clean the injector, has a new fuel pump and filter. I'm thinking maybe the TPS is bad. What do you think? I think that the 210 FX 450s are horrible bikes, and you should contact me about the price because it's not that much, but I can solve that problem from you. And after I bought it from you, what I would do is I would also check the throttle position sensor. Clean the injector. So I have had. I'm trying to think of what goes wrong on injectors. Because you can hear them tick, and I have the injector cleaner, and you can hear them tick. And I had one that was like kind of finicky, and I cleaned it again and put it back in the bike. And it works good right after I've cleaned it, but then it seems like after a little while, it sort of starts going bad. And this one, it's the one your dad rode at this class. Remember, he said this bike is half of the other bike. He's just saying it didn't run very good.
Yeah.
And that was the one that was acting funky. So I actually, and I put a new injector in one of these bikes someplace because I used to have one and now I don't. And so I was going alternating between cleaning these other 2 injectors, and I just don't understand what can go bad in there once they're clean. but maybe they get sticky. You know, the opening and closing of it gets sticky or something. But I've never had one get to the point of failure. The injectors, when they plug, you start feeling generally a loss in power at the upper end. You know, they get kind of lean, and then they progressively get worse till they start popping and sputtering, and then they get to that point where they just idle and they won't really run. But the TPS sensor, I think those can go bad. Sometimes, you know, if I mark them and then I'll loosen them up and move it around, and there's tools that they make where you can check the voltage that you get out of them. But just loosening it up on the bike and moving it while the bike runs and see if that changes something, that might give you an idea whether it might just be an adjustment or maybe the TPS has gone completely bad. And I haven't had to replace any of the other sensors on any of my bikes, any of the fuel injected bikes. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Oh, I see what George is talking about. He's talking about the yellow and black knob, or the yellow knob and the idle adjust knob. So they no longer have the pull choke; they have the push button one.
Mm-hmm.
He's right. It's strange. Too many different years of bikes around here. Everything I've been riding lately, I've had to pull the choke on.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there's something on. This is why I write this stuff down. There's something on Dirt Bike Test where you can search KTM throttle adjustment. I think we put this link up in the show all the time.
Yeah.
So that might help. For normal temperatures, you never need it. By pressing it upwards towards the throttle body, it clicks in and sets the throttle body's butterfly valve slightly open to achieve a higher idle. It says October 5th, 2015. Maybe that's when he cut and pasted it straight out of. He cut and pasted it straight out of the thing. Yeah. Okay. So, anything else?
I think it's time for Rooster Endo.
Okay. Todd Kelly has a quick question. I'm out of my directional dual sport Kenda tire backwards. Oops. I ran it anyway and didn't notice a difference. Was it front or rear? I am not a princess and the P like you, and I'm not pushing the tire enough to notice different. Is there really resistance built in the knobs on a dual sport DOT tire? Front or rear? If it was the rear, it's harder to notice the difference. If it's the front and you didn't notice it, you don't have much feel, and you are a princess. That's all I can say. Okay, Logan, what are we going to do here? So this is Rooster Endo. Why don't you explain what Rooster Endo is?
It's where we rate your bikes. The higher they come up here, they roost, or lower, it's endoing.
What would make a bike roost, just for instance?
Whatever appeals to you, mostly.
What appeals to
And
me?
if you're having a good day.
Okay. So I bought a Husaberg today, so I should be having a good day. This could be a good day?
Yeah.
You were
think?
smiling in the picture I got, so.
I was trying to cover up the pivot pegs that it came with, which I took off the motorcycle and I gave back to the owner.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was...
I didn't even bring that up.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
That's why my foot's in an awkward position, because I didn't want anybody to see me sitting on a bike with pivot pegs. I took them right off.
Right.
I rode it down the street once, and I took them off. So the way this works is you send us a picture of your bike. You tell us the year, make, and model, hopefully. You want to roost, that's the best thing to do. Don't tell us anything about what it is, so we have to start guessing. And then we examine what you've done to your particular motorcycle and maybe, the quality of your photo, things like this. And depending on Logan's mood, we decide whether we like it or not. You're feeling sick, so all these things are going to roost, right?
I think I've only voted on one bike.
To roost or endo?
Like,
You've
in this
only
whole thing.
your voice has only been heard one time.
No, like, yeah, for a...
Out of all these bikes, you only have one definitive decision, or one that you overruled me on.
Even Eli Tomac has more than that.
Yeah. No, I made you read it, and then you made me
Oh, okay.
vote on it.
So you're okay. Go ahead. I'll give you my recommendation, and then you get to decide.
I would like to know SS is giving some solid advice in the chat.
Double front disc guards will give you the win. I'm getting over the whole front disc guards. I'm gonna give you that box to give back to Taco Mike. There's some stuff in there that I don't necessarily need.
Okay.
Bubba Watson.
Bubba.
2022 500 EXC FF slip-on and power commander, fuel tuner, and some cosmetic stuff.
Did you mention the FMF exhaust?
Yeah, he did mention that.
okay.
Some cosmetic stuff. The cosmetic stuff would be there is a disc guard on this, but it looks like the plastic kind. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I see some blingy things, like a disc guard. I'm thinking I think that looks like a nice bike. Well, Logan, what do you think? You're in charge. You get to decide. I'm giving you the authority. Remember, this is a talking show where we talk. So express your feelings in a verbal manner, young man.
PDS and then a little protection stuff. So, pretty good.
Okay, pretty good.
We don't have any tacks.
I'll give you one. Don't poke yourself with it. You know. There we go. What's the next one? Give it to me. I'll handle this end of the thing here.
What's the name?
Dave
Okay.
Black.
David Black. Okay. This bike just left here, I believe, didn't it? Yeah, there it is. Okay, so David Black, I'll be at first to admit this could roost a lot more. I won't hold it against you if all. Here's my 22 Husky FE 501S. Stock ECU and suspension. Stock. Yeah. Scott Stabilizer. XC Gear Mako 360. Golden Tire 333 and 216 Fatty, which has been replaced since the photo, with Nitromooses. IMS 4-gallon tank. Black Dog traction pegs. Cycra Pro Band handguards. Moto-minded rally tower. RNS GPS Tripmasters. F2R roadbook holder. Rally Moto shop bracket. Seat Concepts tall comfort seat. And a George decal, which, like, that could be really painful.
My mom car has the George decal, so
Right.
Yeah.
it kind of endos.
I think he needs to pay us some more. I think he's just
He is actually. I'm going to be
he's-
teaching his girlfriend.
George.
Oh.
George's girlfriend.
No, I thought we were talking about Dave still. Paying us more.
Oh, okay. You're going to be teaching his girlfriend. Oh, no,
No,
no.
if he wants to.
No,
You're
David.
right about the sticker though.
Yeah, George. The sticker's kind of,
The sticker deal's running up.
yeah, it's running out. Logan, what do you think?
Is that tire super bald, or is that just the way they came?
I think it's the way the light's hitting it.
Wow. That looks like it does look super bald, doesn't it?
If you look more towards the bottom, though, you can see the shadows on the middle knobbies. I think it's just the way the light's hitting it.
No, that's something wrong with that. That's really bald. I bet you. I'll bet you it. I would think that maybe that all the knobs came unstuck from the tire. Is the 333 a soft tire? Because that happens on those things. They come unglued. But yeah, it looks a little bit thing. Where does that go, Logan? Here's a pen. I'll tell you something I know about that bike. It still has the screen at the end of the muffler. Where is that? Is that past halfway?
Just slightly.
Just slightly?
endo.
You're saying slight endo?
Like 1% endo.
1% endo. Well, that's pretty waffly, but yeah, okay. Logan says your bike endos, Dave. So next time you're out at the class, he's coming to the class. He's actually renting a bike because this bike was here. It was out here for his rally stuff training, and it went back to Atlanta. So, okay. Next bike up is Jeff Hammond. 2012 EX2 350 desmogged EFI tuner, pipe opened. That's what David should have done. He should have opened the pipe. So what is this one? What are you thinking, Logan? Enunciate.
Pretty blinged out with anodized orange stuff.
Right.
Like foot pegs and levers.
Are those the extended foot pegs, or like the adventure foot pegs? Or are they just beefier ones?
I think they're just beefier.
I think they're just beefier too, actually. They're not long enough.
They don't seem longer.
I don't know. I can't
They
really
look-
tell.
they
from
look
the
like in between
They look
almost.
almost like adventure pegs, like the Fastway. He doesn't say what they are, so we don't know. So we just have to guess. Right. Where's that? It's a green. It's green there. That's a weird color for us out here.
Yeah.
Can you throw us up on the screen? Can we get that over here so we can see? Like we can get a copy of that. That's good. Yeah. What year is this again? 2012. That thing's pretty shiny for that long.
Yeah, that frame is really clean.
I got a couple of those. Front tire's out of focus too.
That
He-
whole kind of left side is.
It looks like the camera was smudged over here.
Oh yeah, he needs to work on his camera. You know somebody's gonna get a $100 gift certificate from Moto based on your impressions.
Yeah.
You know what? You know what you got to do, Logan. Is you got to figure out you got to come up with some stupid rule. This is what I would do if I were you. I would come up with some stupid rule where if we don't like any of the bikes, that you get to keep the money. That's what I would do. Where is this going now?
The Logan College Fund.
Yeah. So 51 or is it 47?
51.
So it's right over the top of Dave's bike. I think this thing needs to be ridden more.
Yeah.
That's plain and simple. That's it. What was it? Was it EXC? It was a 500 EXC, 350 EXC, and it had it had to have a headlight or a number plate.
Number plate.
It's got a number plate on it. Racy. Okay. Still number plate, and still had the turn signals on the back. It's sliding down the scale. Did you want it to go there?
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Okay, you're in charge. Yeah.
All right, what's
Here,
the next one?
let's keep this thing interesting, Logan. Let's make it rip.
Evans.
Matthew Evans
Yeah.
has a 21 FE350 desmogged Lucky Carbon. Baja Designs XL80 headlight. I approve of those. Dirt Trick sprocket. They're not as good as the DDC ones. DID X-Ring. Guts cover. Bulletproof Designs radiator and rear disc guards. Those are good. Next is an ECU and slip-on, hopefully. Just graduated college, so got to save up a little bit for the big ticket items. It's the kind of thing where $100 could go a little ways.
Mm-hmm.
Are we gonna see? Do I get to see this over here?
Oh, yeah, here.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up over here.
Yeah, I like to see it too. Is this light on right now?
No,
No,
it's just the
it's-
reflection.
yeah.
But did he mention the front
Well-
discard?
No.
No, that's the Cherubi's plastic one. That's
Yeah,
okay.
but this one's fine.
It's the big giant. You know what? I kid you not. Is at some point we had a Yamaha, a test bike, and we put one of those the disc guards on. And this is in the more recent future, you know. And I was crawling around up in the upstairs, and I was going through some stuff, and I saw that thing.
Yeah.
It has a giant freaking dent in it. Like
Oh,
I
no.
keep telling people to send me a picture of one.
You found your own.
I
dent.
found my own with a big giant dent in it.
Is this one that possibly made a trip to King of the Motos?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, probably.
It was was that water pump cover there too?
The Yamaha, or the one that what's his name up here smashed into it. No, he punched a hole in the radiator.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of like an old I think it was a WR250, and you had to put JB weld.
I
over
didn't
this
know. I
hole
would
in
have
the
thrown.
water
I would
pump
have
cover.
thrown that way if I replaced it. So where's this bike at, Logan? What are you thinking?
Just over the middle.
Just
Yeah, right about that. Yeah.
is this you're gonna be your go-to? You're just gonna this
Well, we
middle.
need more in the middle.
This
Yeah.
we need more in
You
the
got
middle.
more,
More in the
very drastic
Yeah.
moves.
It's
The middle's
middle's
kinda-
pretty barren
kinda
compared to like we got some good ones on the Endo, a lot of ones on the Roost. We need more in the middle.
No, so Logan's just doing the job. So if you're lucky enough to submit this week, you're just going to get put in the middle for no other reason than we need it on the middle. So what did you? So it's just there's nothing substantial about this bike that makes it stand out from just being mediocre.
There's-
yeah,
Matthew,
I like the story.
I like the fact that he graduated from college. That's good.
Yeah.
I like the fact that his name is Matthew and he just graduated from
Oh
college.
yeah, well, there's another thing. Yeah, it's another reason to be very mediocre and in the middle.
Yep.
I wonder if he drives a mom car. So
yeah.
good on you for doing
A
that.
lot of
There's
fond memories in the mom car.
stuff falling away. Mike Schoss.
Yeah.
Schoss. It's a 2021 KTM 300 XCW TPI. It has full wrap handguards from Enduro Engineering, radiator braces from Enduro Engineering, Moto ES skid plate and pipe guard, tubeless, a front tugger strap made from an old toe strap. So it's not a tugger strap, it's an old toe strap that you've turned into a grab handle, because a tugger strap is an actual item that I can get you a discount code on if you send me an email. Sick Ass Racing keyboard keyed ignition, a TPS sensor protector, metal fuel elbow. Would that be a 90-degree one for better flow? Idle screw mod from Nice CNC. For winter riding, I'm running a pair of AT81s with cold cutter studs in them. Love the show. Thanks very much from Ontario, Canada. So what are you thinking? Let's see this over here on the screen.
The picture's not that good.
Oh, the picture's not that good.
Yeah, see, it's pretty blurry.
Well, it's because up in Canada they don't have the best. They don't have the best cameras yet. They haven't let them. They haven't let them have them.
Right.
You know that it's little known fact, but this is a fact that everybody in Canada lives underground.
Really?
Yeah, they live on. They have beady little eyes. These Canadians, I've heard about them. They live underground all year long, and they come out every once in a while in the spring. So he left his motorcycle up above ground, right here.
Got it.
He's got is that a pipe protector or is that stock?
That's stock.
That's the
That's
stock.
a stock pipe, yeah.
Yeah, it's the way it's reflecting off. That pipe looks big
Yeah.
on that thing. And somehow it looks bulbous, but maybe that's the camera. It's like kind of like they don't have to have good cameras because they're the beady little eyes. They can't see that good, and it's so the view's a little bit distorted. So that's what happens. I've heard. Okay, I've never really paid attention, but I didn't go to school that much either, Logan. You know what that's like?
Yeah.
They taught you all this in school, yeah? Or you're learning from me.
Well, I would have asked the guy that lived like 100 miles, maybe less, from those BDI little guys.
George, you mean?
Matt,
Oh, Matt lived in
Alaska.
yeah, well, yeah, that's kind of like that's Northwest Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they're Americans there and they stay outside. They just drink. That's why Matt had to come home. Okay, what do you think of Mike's bike?
I'm impressed that he can ride in snow, because I don't understand how you do that.
It's real easy. It's balance and traction.
Yeah,
we
but
teach this in our
it's
class.
hard to get those.
The studs.
Well, when the snow, it depends on the snow. Like if it's powdery snow, yeah, studs don't do a lot. You want your tire to cut in, and there's a certain depth of snow you're not going to be able to ride through. But when it cools, heats and cools, and it gets that hard, crispy layer on top, it's pretty crazy. And like with studs, you'd be blown away where you can go.
But you have to replace the studs pretty frequently. They get ripped
If you
out.
don't hit rocks,
Yeah.
you don't. But yeah, and studs. Real true studded tires are expensive. I used to just run sheet metal screws, real stubby sheet metal screws. I just screw them into the tops of the knobs.
This was something most people who did the ice racing in Alaska. That's what most of them did. They just saved the money.
The
went for
low
for those.
budge,
Yeah.
thing there. What are you saying, Logan?
Really centered. It's
Oh, really? It's really right down the middle. I'm kind of
Well-
surprised at your crazy idea to put it in the middle.
It's got a little weirdness with the ECUs.
I like the fact that he's willing to challenge the elements, and come out of the ground,
that's
come
why
out
he's
from
in the
above
middle.
ground and go riding. It's admirable. I like this. So I'll put it a little above center for you there. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wins?
College guy.
Yeah.
College guy.
Yeah.
I was so mean to that Canadian guy. I wanted to give it to him. But the college guy wins. That
Yeah.
would be Hey, and don't think you can just give us tack a little line at the end. Just graduated college, so got to save up a little money for the big ticket. I don't think that little begging.
Matthew Evans.
Yeah, Matthew Evans is the winner. Oh, you
won the
picked
$100.
Yeah, get in touch with us. And if the Canadian guy, I wonder. I was saying I don't know how hard it is for us to send shirts up there. I'd send him a shirt, but we'd probably have to tie it to a mole and send the mole up there to dig underneath the border and then take it out to him. I don't know how expensive that would be. So we'll get in touch with us. We'll see if we can help you out. Okay, so we're gonna do our lightning round of last minute questions before I didn't have to do any holy water or light anything on fire, Logan. Hopefully, your COVID antibodies or whatever, they aren't crawling, like we're not playing footsie and you're not getting me sick over here, because I've managed to dodge that bullet for a long time now. Let's see. Dave said that's exactly where he's thought his bike to land. Kirk is having a beer, and then he's telling us it's just the light on the tire. So riding in powder snow is like riding in sand to me.
I can kind of see it, but
I don't like how you can't see the ground.
Oh, that's a big problem.
That's what gets me.
Yeah, especially it's like sometimes when it depends on how it falls. If it falls straight down, you can still kind of see the contour of the ground. But if there's any wind blowing, it starts blowing it, smooths stuff out. Or if it's the second or third snow, then you got like a hard layer underneath. It's sketchy.
Yeah.
Like it's super sketchy. Oh, look at George. He's like, "Where's my TTR?" Like,
well,
submitted at a last minute and expected to go to the front of the line just because you're a friend of the show and you allegedly paid somebody off.
He didn't submit it last minute, but I said in the post it was the first bike that was commented would get featured on tonight's show.
Oh, well.
And next week will be the first 4 bikes submitted will be featured on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, we're running low.
Running low
On
so
Rooster
send
Endo.
your pictures and send your videos, and they'll be featured live on the show.
I was kind of hoping that my fire would have lit this board on fire, and then we'd have to peel it.
What made you have a fire last week?
I don't know. It was just my spirit. My spirits were talking.
He
to
wanted
me.
a little visual for his lack of tequila.
Yeah, a little thing. I just lit it on fire. I don't know why. I mean, what else do you do on this show? Like get a couple questions, light some candles, and holy water. Yeah. So, yeah, Logan. Well, thanks again for coming down. I hope you're feeling better. I would tell you to just take a shot of whiskey and forget the doctor stuff. But that's probably I could get in trouble for that, right? I mean, not with your dad or anything like that, but probably Child Protective Services or something. Again, I'd like to thank our sponsors, Taco Moto Co. for sponsoring Rooster Endo. That was awesome. A $100 gift certificate goes out to the bike we deem the most, maybe sometimes in need of it, sometimes the best story that comes with it, sometimes the best picture. Definitely not the ones with the roost guards. Other sponsors include, Logan?
Oh, I was going to see how well you knew him.
Oh, if I know the sponsors. Yeah, Yamaha, Scott Sports, Climb,
Yeah.
DDC Sprockets, Costa Rica Unlimited,
Yeah.
and I am missing, I don't know.
Trail Tech.
Trail Tech. Oh, yeah, Trail Tech.
Yeah.
So that's our sponsor list.
Don't forget to check out jimmylewisoffroad.com
Oh, yeah.
online courses.
Right, Matt can hook you up. We have a beginner. Oh, I was gonna go off on this too. We have a beginner rider course, by the way. Logan, do you know about this?
I found that out today.
You're featured on it. You're one of the beginner riders that we we used in some of
on
our
the Better
videos.
Rider podcast.
Yeah, you're on the Better Rider podcast.
Which subscribe to that on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube.
Yeah, I actually act professional on that one.
Yeah.
And but the beginner rider, it's amazing because it's actually for beginner riders, not someone who's been riding for 15 years on the street. Like, it's not beginner dirt bike rider techniques because it's beginner rider techniques. So we actually had somebody watch all of our videos and then ask for a refund because they said it was too beginner for him. So I don't know how we could better describe it.
It does say it's designed for people who've never touched a motorcycle.
Right. Yeah, never touched a motorcycle. It's a real beginner rider series. So if you know somebody who you would like to teach and still maintain a relationship with, it's the best $40 you'll ever spend for that person. So do that. And if you want a little bit of a discount code, you can use Tech Talk 22 as the coupon code, correct?
Correct.
And
you'll get 10% off.
You'll get 10% off. So you will save a whopping $3 and your relationship. So don't say you didn't learn anything of value on this show tonight.
Learn to ride.
Bob, thanks for coming back. We thought you were dead too. We thought Logan gave you the COVID. Matt, good job.
Thank you.
Also,
Don't forget to. What was the other thing I wanted to plug?
Well, you didn't.
Yeah, Learn to Ride Clinic on April 16th.
A beginner rider clinic.
Yeah, rather than just doing private lessons, I'm going to try and do my own little beginner rider class.
Right.
It's going to be a full day thing with lunch included.
Okay.
Rental bikes available. Limited spots though.
Okay, so send your significant other out here to beautiful Pahrump, Nevada.
Yeah, reach out to me at matt@jimmylewisoffroad.com and I'll get you set up.
And yeah, when you're having that when that class is going on, if you're out here and we just want to go down the street, we go down and get lunch at the brothels.
Which burgers are actually really good. Really good burgers.
Right. Okay. So with that, I think we're going to sign off. We'll see you next week. And if, again, share this with a friend, click through on our Rocky Mountain link, click through on our Amazon link, and then we're going to get rich and ride off into the sunset. Or we'll see you out in the trail.